Hey there and welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving headfirst into a topic that feels a bit like a monster under the bed for a lot of us. Debt, you know that feeling, right? It's like having a tiny, annoying gremlin sitting on your shoulder, constantly whispering, "Psst, remember that credit card bill?" But why do so many of us end up with this gremlin as a roommate? Why do we fall into the debt trap, and more importantly, how do we climb back out? Let's unravel this mystery together, and I promise we'll have a little fun along the way. So why do people get into debt in the first place? It's not like anyone wakes up in the morning and says, "You know what would be awesome today? Owing a bunch of money." It's usually a slow, sneaky process. Think of it like this. You get your first job and you're making, let's say, $2,000 a month. You're careful, you pack your lunch and you're pretty happy. Then you get a promotion. Woohoo, confetti. Now you're making $3,000 a month. What's the first thing that happens? The little voice in your head goes, "Hey, we can afford a nicer apartment now." And then, and maybe a car that doesn't make that weird clanking sound. And just like that, your expenses magically rise to meet your new income. This is called lifestyle inflation, and it's one of the biggest, slipperiest banana peels on the path to financial freedom. Let's imagine our friend, Alex. Alex got a great new job, and his salary doubled. Suddenly, his daily homemade coffee turned into a $7 latte from that fancy cafe downtown. His weekend movie nights at home turned into expensive dinners and cocktails with friends. He upgraded his phone, his laptop, and even his wardrobe because, hey, he had to look the part, right? Before he knew it, his expenses weren't just matching his new salary. They were exceeding it. He was putting those extra expenses on his credit card, telling himself he'd pay it off next month. But next month came with its own set of extra expenses. It's a classic tale. We think a bigger paycheck automatically means more money in the bank, but often it just means bigger bills to pay. We adjust our lifestyle upwards so quickly that we forget we ever lived differently, and that's when the debt gremlin starts to settle in, getting comfy on our shoulder. Another huge reason people stumble into debt is the simple yet profound failure to save. We've all heard the advice, pay yourself first, but what does that actually mean? It means that the moment your paycheck hits your account, a portion of it should be whisked away into a savings account before you even have the chance to spend it. A lot of people do the opposite. They think, okay, I'll pay my rent, my bills, my groceries, buy those new shoes I've been eyeing, go out with friends, and whatever is left at the end of the month, I'll save. But how often is there anything actually left? Usually it's just a few sad-looking coins and a lint ball. This "I'll save what is left" strategy is like trying to bake a cake by throwing all the ingredients in a bowl and just hoping for the best. It rarely works out. Without a deliberate plan to save, you're essentially living on a financial tightrope with no safety net. You're spending 100%, or with credit cards, maybe 110% of what you earn. This leaves you incredibly vulnerable. What happens when an unexpected expense pops up? And trust me, they always do. Your car decides to impersonate a steam engine. Or your tooth suddenly decides it needs a very expensive crown. Where does the money for that come from? If you haven't been saving, the answer is almost always a credit card or a loan. And just like that, you've taken your first step into the quicksand of debt. This brings us to the final boss of the YIEM in debt game, having no emergency fund. An emergency fund is not the same as your regular savings for a vacation or a new gadget. This is your "oh crap" fund. It's a pot of money, typically 3 to 6 months worth of your essential living expenses, that you don't touch unless there's a genuine capital E emergency. Think job loss, a medical crisis, or an urgent home repair. It's your financial fire extinguisher. Now imagine you don't have one. You're living paycheck to paycheck, maybe with a little bit of credit card debt already. Then bam, you lose your job. The panic is real. Your rent is still due. You still need to eat, and your bills aren't going to magically disappear. Without that emergency cushion, your only option is to lean heavily on debt. You start swiping your credit cards for groceries. You take out a high-interest personal loan to cover rent, and suddenly you're not just treading water. You're sinking, and fast. The debt piles up, the interest charges multiply, and the stress becomes overwhelming. Having no emergency fund is like driving a car without insurance or a spare tire. You might be fine for a while, but when something goes wrong, it goes very, very wrong. It turns a manageable problem into a full-blown financial catastrophe. Okay, that all sounded a bit gloomy, didn't it? The good news is, no matter how deep you are in the debt trap, there is always a way out. It's not going to be easy, and it won't happen overnight, but it is absolutely possible. So how do we show that debt gremlin the door? The first, most crucial step is a mindset shift. You must start living below your means. This doesn't mean you have to live on instant noodles and sleep on the floor. It simply means making a conscious decision to spend less than you earn. It's time to create a budget. Yeah, I said the B word. But a budget isn't a financial prison. It's a freedom plan. It's you telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. Track your spending for a month. Every single coffee, every subscription, every impulse buy, you'll probably be shocked at where your money is actually going. Once you know, you can start making cuts. Maybe it's canceling streaming services you don't use, packing your lunch a few days a week, or finding free hobbies instead of expensive ones. The goal is to create A gap, a surplus between your income and your expenses. This surplus is your weapon against debt. Once you've created that surplus in your budget, it's time to go into full-on debt destruction mode. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to clear all your debts. There are two popular methods for this, the debt snowball and the debt avalanche. With the debt snowball, you list all your debts from the smallest balance to the largest. You make minimum payments on everything, but you throw every extra penny of your surplus at the smallest debt. Once that one is paid off, you feel a huge psychological win. You then take all the money you were paying on that debt and roll it over to the next smallest one. Your payment snowballs, getting bigger and bigger as you knock out each debt. The debt avalanche method is similar, but you focus on paying off the debt with the highest interest rate first, which mathematically saves you the most money in the long run. Whichever method you choose, the key is to be aggressive and consistent. Celebrate every single debt you pay off. You are taking back control of your financial life, one payment at a time. Finally, as you're fighting your way out of debt, you need to build your defenses for the future. You need to start saving, and you need to do it first. This is where we bring back the pay yourself first principle. Set up an automatic transfer from your checking account to a separate high-yield savings account for the day after you get paid. Even if you can only start with $25 or $50 a month, just start. The habit is more important than the amount at the beginning. This savings account will become your emergency fund. Your goal is to build it up until it has at least 3 months of your essential living expenses. This fund is your shield. The next time a financial storm comes along and you won't have to reach for a credit card. You'll have your own cash to handle the problem, and you'll be able to do it without derailing your progress or falling back into debt. Building this habit changes everything. It shifts you from a reactive, stressed-out spender to a proactive, confident saver. So there you have it. The debt trap is a slippery slope built from lifestyle, inflation, a lack of savings, and no emergency plan. But the ladder out is just as clear. Live on less than you make, attack your debt with a focused plan, and build your savings fortress by paying yourself first. It's a journey, not a sprint, but every step you take in the right direction is a victory. You can absolutely do this. You can get rid of that annoying gremlin on your shoulder and build a future where you are in control of your money, not the other way around. Thanks for hanging out with me today. If you found this helpful, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Until next time, stay smart and stay in control.